Another question, how many students do you have studying your courses? Individual courses, I'm not aware of those numbers, but in terms of the total number of courses being studied at the moment, we have just over 1,800 students studying across all of our courses. I think I mentioned it earlier on, we have accepted around 1 in 15 of the applications that have been applied for within the courses. Okay, so we have just 5 more minutes. We're going to take a couple more questions. Joe says, thanks for doing this web chat, but why don't you do more to motivate people to do training to get into the games industry? Is that a question for
I'm happy to take that, yes. I think one of the issues has been that the industry is still fairly young. I think government policymakers probably haven't seen the games industry as being a great industry to get involved in. That's one of the things that TIGA is working to address. One of the reasons why we focus on generating media profile for our sector is to create awareness about the industry, to give people an idea that great opportunities exist in the sector. We're also negotiating with government, working with politicians to, I suppose, educate them as well, so that they in turn can point out to constituents or to discussions in the House of Commons that the sector is important and is worth having a career in. We continue to emphasise how well trained our workforce needs to be, how it's export oriented, how it's R&D intensive. These are all really important things that policymakers are looking for in British business nowadays. And the more we can get that message across to government, I think the more likely they in turn will be to encourage people to have a career in the sector.
And Joe here, actually Joe could be male or female. We'll assume for a second that this Joe is female. What are the government and what are we doing as an industry to encourage more females into industry? I think we mentioned earlier on it is a very male-dominated industry. How can we get more females into industry and motivate them to join what is a really great business?
Well, I suppose one thing is for developers themselves to create games that appeal to women and to girls. I think that's important. That's already happening to a crucial extent, I think. I think through the TIGA HR group, we're creating an awareness, good practice procedures for game developers to adopt when recruiting, so that will encourage them to be perhaps a little bit more imaginative in their sources of recruits. So I think that's important to do. And we have a careers guide which is available on the TIGA website, which I suppose again would encourage people to think twice, or to think again rather, about having a career in the games industry, which they might not have thought about previously. So we're doing some practical things, there's always more to be done, but I think the trend is probably in the right direction. I think people, women in particular, now are becoming aware of the great opportunities that exist, and clearly a trade association like TIGA should be working hard to encourage people to get into the sector.
I think you're absolutely right about doing developers building games for that are more targeted at a broader audience. And one of our projects at the moment, a game called High School Dreams, is absolutely a game targeted at females. And I think the more that happens, I think the better for all. And also, I mentioned earlier on the whole social gaming sector. It's probably the fastest growing sector in the whole of the games industry at the moment, and that is predominantly played by females. Okay, another question. We've got a few more that we can take. Brett asks, this is one for Tony. Will there be lectures on game development like they have at Harvard Uni or other unis?
I can't answer that in an accurate way because I'm not privy to what those particular lectures are. But I can say about our live internet training.
Excellent.
Live internet training, our LITs, we do, in fact we had one last night on story and dialogue telling. It's where we get industry experts to come in and they do a live internet chat session, Q&A. They give a short presentation and then they'll take questions about that presentation. And we do these regularly. We run them once a week with different topics, and that the students can get hold of these topics from the Student World website, and this is where we get industry experts in to do that. As I said, we had one last night on storytelling and dialoguing. We had one quite recently where we had a head of technology from another studio come in and give one on console development and the optimization that we needed within that. So absolutely, we do have key speakers coming in from the industry.
Thank you for that. The questions for some reason are coming in thick and fast, and we haven't got that much time left. I'm going to answer one from Carl. Carl asks, how do we assess our students? Are they independently assessed? The assessment of our students really comes back to the course advising process. So When our candidates are interviewed, the course advisor spends a great deal of time. It can be up to sort of 2 to 3 hours of interview time working with the students and asking a great deal of questions, some of which are difficult questions to answer. How is the support structure in place for you? If you come onto this course and if you start work on this course, are those around you able to support you? Do you have the academic wherewithal to do these courses? The games development business, whilst very glamorous to a lot of people, is not an easy business to be in and requires, I think, a lot of time and commitment and a fairly significant sort of academic level. So we spend a great deal of time assessing the candidate's ability to actually perform on that particular course. There are financial questions as well. Can they afford the course? If by taking on this course, are they going to fall on financial problems later on? So there's a huge amount of assessment that goes on, and that is largely down to the course advising process. And the course advisors are trained very heavily by us as a training team, and from a games development perspective, and by MIS from understanding the students and getting the right kind of candidates to work with us, those appropriate students.
If I can just add to that, Clive, because the assessment of the students could also mean the assessment of the students as they go through the course and as they finish the course. And I would just like to say we're working with TIGA and TIGA's own examination committee made up of independent leading studios across the UK. We have constructed an exam process that allows those studios to input into the exam process,
yeah.
And therefore the students are independently assessed outside of the Train2Game brand as to what the industry is actually looking for.
Excellent. We have a question from BH Media Marty, who I recognise. He's one of the chaps, one of the students from our forum, I believe. Do you think the forum really supports and helps the students with course building and good community potential, and offers good community potential for indie developers?
I'm leaving that one to you, Clive.
I'm a fairly frequent poster on the forum, as is Matt, who stood outside. I think the forum is a great support tool. I think it's a good support tool for the students who are currently studying our courses and for those who are contemplating coming onto the course. I also think that the forum and the links away from the forum to people's individual sites is a brilliant opportunity for other publishers, investors, and for other indie developers to be inspired by. So I think the forum is a brilliant tool, and I thank everyone who commits daily to it by putting lots and lots of great posts on there and talking about their games developments, because they do a great job, and you should continue doing it. Getting your own web page up there, getting your own blogs, getting your own space on the web for you and your projects is just a brilliant thing to do, and will generate awareness for you and the projects that you're working on. So, Media Marty, great question. We have another question. This is a nice simple one. What are the hardware requirements? What do I need to start on this course?
The easiest way to describe this is you need broadband, you need the internet, and you just need a reasonably competent PC. It has to be PC, it can't be Mac for reasons of the examples, the engines, the art assets are all written, and the applications that the course uses require a PC. And the way that we describe this is your $2.99, your $3.99 laptop from Tesco's. Apologies to Argos and Comet and anyone else who sells these laptops, but your standard PC. And the reason I say laptop as opposed to a desktop is desktops tend to be slightly more powerful than the equivalent cost of a laptop. So if you're looking at a PC that's been for sale for the last year and a half, even 2 years, it's absolutely going to be able to handle this course. We're looking for a 3D acceleration there, but without getting too technical. And the tech specs are totally available to anybody who wants to know. Just look at your $2.99 and $3.99 laptops.
And I think that's a great summary. So it's a £300 laptop is the probable min spec that you would need to get on the course, and it goes without saying, obviously, an internet connection, because you do a lot of the course submission through the internet. A couple more questions before we wind up. It's 6:05 now.